I'm Josh Sigman, and I'm a mortgage lender. I'm also a geek for money, not just earning it and saving it, but literally everything about it. I love that money has rules. It has its truths. I love investment strategies, and I love making money work for us. For so many, money is emotional. For me, it's logical, like a puzzle. My passion is also helping others with their money. I love looking at people's finances, dissecting their puzzle, and rebuilding with strategy and purpose, and I'm really good at it. I'm making this podcast about my money strategies, not the things that are written in books or sold in programs. It's a podcast outlining the lessons I've learned and used for the past 15 years. These strategies help me and those who use them save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early. Let me teach you how to build your net worth. You ready? Welcome to Sigman Sense.
I should say, I don't want to fly solo.
You look good with that. It covers more. It covers more of you. Just joking. You look beautiful.
I mean, you're the brains joking. And I'm the beauty, right?
Clearly. Clearly. And I'm shrinking every day, as you pointed out.
Because you're old.
I am old.
6
Almost
years
41.
Younger.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sigman Sense. And we've actually been working for a couple months now behind the scenes before we started releasing these. And we had a few of our friends and family kind of go back and look at the first few because we wanted to get it right. And some of the feedback we got from actually your brother specifically was, okay, you go through in the first episode about kind of a 25-year journey as a 30,000-foot view. Yeah. But specifically, I think, and what he suggested, which I agree with, is there's more people that are stuck in I'm just getting out of debt to zero or at zero, and I have a couple nickels rubbed together, but really it doesn't feel like I'm doing well, right? Mm-hmm. And so what do those kind of years look like, or what should you be doing? What should you be focused on?
Yeah, what are the first steps? Yeah. Now I'm debt free, and so now I'm earning money and I'm saving it, but what? What do I do from there? What's a good strategy? I think that's the and there's a long gap.
Yeah, and I think it starts even before then. I think that starts going back to the idea of you at some point make a choice. And I know in the first episode I talked about how it's usually pain related. Usually it's not for everybody, but usually there's a life event, I got divorced and now, oh my God, I'm on my own. I got to figure this crap out. Or in my case, my parents just cut me off. Mm-hmm. In your brother's case, parents just cut them off, right? It doesn't always have to be that, because I think, when I talk to a lot of my clients, a lot of people are just in that mindset of, well, I know I should be doing something. I should be working towards my retirement. I don't really know what that feels and looks and tastes like. Yes. But I should be doing better than I am.
I should be doing better. Yes.
And so, I think that the key word though is overall, there's a lack of strategy in those years. Mm-hmm. It's just trying to improve, right? I call it in coaching falling forward. It's it's constantly working on it, creating a better game plan, and moving the needle. And I'll just give some recent examples for 2020. Okay, so get away from my childhood, get to 2020. Okay, many of my clients, most of my clients have car payments. Yep. Okay, most of them got car loans 3 and 4 and 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Most of those rates are 3, 4, and 5%. We were at historic low rates. Why haven't these people refinanced their car loans? If you can save even $50 a month or $100 a month, you should do that, because that $50 or $100 a month for 25 or 35 years matters. And you multiply that because of the lack of focus, the lack of strategy times, not just that, but allowing yourself to have that gym membership for 30 years that you never went to, or once a month, or you have that subscription online for a kid's video game that the kids stopped playing the video game 10 years ago or 2 years ago. Yeah. But all those little things add up. And so it's how are we getting better this month? What am I going to improve this month, right? I think the other end of it is I feel like, or I felt like I should say that, I remember this conversation. I'll go back to Ron, my first financial planner. And I remember sitting there And he told me, hey, you need to be saving, a couple $100 every month out of your paycheck. You need to siphon it over. So we need to work on your retirement account. I literally remember saying, what's $100 a month going to do?
Right.
Right. Like that's stupid.
Like, what's the point?
You know, at the end of the year, I'll save $1,200. At the end of year 2, I'll have $2,500. Great. If I work 30 years, I might have, well, yes. At the end of 30 years, you'll be fine because it's the habit and the strategy of savings. And then you get a little hooked on it, and now maybe you increase it to $200.
Oh my gosh, I love that you say you get hooked on it because that is the conversation that I had. At some point, it becomes addicting.
Yep, winning is addicting.
Winning is addicting.
Yep.
And so you're gambling with your own money when you're investing, or you're, whatever you tell yourself to get that fire going. But it's interesting that
it's a real thing.
Hooked.
It's a real thing. And I think it's, you're positively feeding your mindset and actions or you're negatively. And I think a lot of us are trapped in the negative side. It's too hopeless. It's too hard to overcome. It's too much work. It's,
So let me ask you this. Yep. Do you think that there is any situation or any scenario that is unovercomable?
That you're unable to overcome? Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay. All right. Talk us through that. Because
so you are 80 years old. You are no longer employable, not for age, but because of a disability perhaps.
Okay.
And you never saved ever. It's kind of too late. I can't say that it's
so extreme though.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to be real about it too. Right.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's working and has some time left in their working career, 10 years or more, I think would be the best answer. I do think that even if you can't get it perfect, you can be way better off in retirement than what the average is looking at right now. Because again, even if you're in that same extreme equation of I'm 80, 85, I'm done working, I'm unemployable now for whatever reason, I'm living off of a fixed income and there's no chance. The truth of the matter is, well, what if we started at 75 while you were still working for those last 5 years, even if it was only quote unquote the ability to save up 40 grand, 25 grand? Well, that could be the difference of getting a little bit better healthcare treatment. It could be the difference of staying at home in home healthcare versus being forced into in order to take advantage of some of the the pitfalls of the system, being forced to go to a nursing home, right? So if I had the choice, even if I was down to my last couple $1,000, I'd rather get in-home care for a few years or a few months than go right from going to the hospital to a nursing home in order to get the benefits from Medicaid. Right. So the point is, it's never too late to improve your situation.
So what about younger people then? Because that's
younger people. It's crazy to think that it's too late. I think that avoiding it is kind of like what would be a good analogy? Here's the analogy. Everyone has an oxygen tank and they're going scuba diving.
Okay.
And you're at 100 feet. I dive. Okay. So 100 feet for a normal scuba diver is the extent of which you can go to if you're not an advanced diver. So you're at 100 feet. You've got very limited time with this oxygen. It will run out.
I'm getting anxiety just thinking about it.
It's the truth. And so here you are, and you've got 30 years left in your career, or 40 years left, or 20 years left in your career. And you're sucking on the oxygen, which is living paycheck to paycheck and increasing your debt, not working the debt. And what do you think's going to happen eventually? Eventually, you're going to pay the piper. Now, good news for scuba, you can just swim to the surface.
Right.
Rapidly, but you can swim to the surface, breathe out, swim to the surface. My point, though, is that it is an unavoidable conclusion. We all get old. Yeah. We all have peak earning years. We all have lower earning years. Avoiding it does not help. It's the same thing with health, right? You look in the mirror, you're 250 pounds overweight. It's gonna end badly and end sooner than it should.
Yeah.
It's gonna end badly. And so, does it feel like it's fun to get up and work on the treadmill when you're 250 pounds overweight? No. But shit, if you get an extra year of life with your family, is it worth it? I would argue for most of us, the answer is yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And so that's where you have to get that mindset shift to anything better is still better. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
for sure.
So, your question I think is a real one. Okay. So now we're just back to even, even is zero, meaning my next paycheck will be my first paycheck that I have the ability to save $1. What should I be doing? Okay. I am not a financial advisor. There's a disclaimer somewhere on this I'll remind you of. But the point is that starting to save early and often matters. I go into a lot of detail in a different episode about, the couple steps to financial freedom. And so I'm not going to go into that level of detail. What I'm just going to focus on is what are some key things to do and not do.
Yeah.
Right.
And what did it look like for you? Because
I'll be more specific to my story because I think it relates. My first answer was deferred gratification. My first answer was, and I'll give my exact trigger. We were talking about this ahead of time. When I was bouncing credit cards, I had lots of credit card debt, a lot of credit card debt. And what I used to do is I'd move the balance from one credit card to the next within 6 months, and I would have zero interest because of it. And I think up to 6 or 7, maybe more than that at the time, that I was still flipping and never having to pay the piper, just sucking on that oxygen, right? And 1 month I missed a payment. Well, the second that triggered, you can't at that time change credit cards because the next credit card company says, nope, credit scores just went down, not going to take the risk, you cannot transfer the balance, right? Well, not only that happened, but my zero interest automatically trips to, based on the terms and conditions, like 24%.
Oh my God.
So I'm smart enough, even though at that moment in my life, at probably age 21.
Here's the thing. I think I would argue that little strategy was pretty damn smart. I mean, there's a lot of smart people in prison too. It doesn't mean that they make good choices. Yeah, but they get it's like white collar prison though. I mean, right? Just not the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all just get, I feel like there's a lot of brain.
I don't know if that's the argument.
I don't think it's an argument either, but I've thought about this. Can you imagine the kind of brainstorming that goes on among those people in prison? In the white collar.
It's the one thing you didn't think of, right? It's the one like I literally thought I'd never miss a payment. Of course it was going to work for me. I was just going to keep on flipping I missed my payment. It happened.
Man, you put all those minds in one little secluded area for them to just brainstorm away.
Criminal university. That's why I like to go back a second time. That's right.
Anyway.
But yeah, so again, I think that's where I was like, okay, this crap's not working anymore. I got to do something else. And so, without going into too much detail about that, it's just every extra dollar that I earned went to debt reduction at the time. I got super.
And that was at what point?
I'm 21, 22,
okay,
23.
So these was college days.
Coming out of college. Yeah, right out of college. Just focused on paying every extra dollar towards debt reduction.
Every dollar.
Because I didn't want to get married with debt. Now, here's a really funny thing. I thought it would take me longer to get out of debt. So when I told my girlfriend at the time that I wasn't getting engaged to her.
Another strategy.
I was not going to get engaged to her until I could buy a diamond in cash. I'm thinking I bought myself 10 years, right? It did not take 10 years. Not you, the
overachiever.
No, it did not. Because you start seeing the whittle, right? You're whittling down. All of a sudden, one credit card's gone. You're like, crap, I can now double down on this other credit card and so on. And it was just really a singular focus, so much so that, and we talk about this at different times over the next couple podcasts, but I think that people believe that you can't save. I think your words were you can't spend anything while you're in savings mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
which is not a true statement, but
before we started working on our budget, it was the idea of saving was just not spending.
The idea of saving was just not spending. Right. And I think that a lot of people think it's mutually exclusive, and it's not. It goes back to the strategy word. Mm-hmm. It's how much am I allow myself to spend this much this month? What is something that I really need versus I just want? Mm-hmm. And if I just want it, can I just wait another extra month or 2 or 3 before I get it?
Yeah.
To allow for a few extra months of debt reduction or savings, either one, right? If I were to give a blanket statement, because every situation is a little different, I just think the easiest answer mentally is for every, let's just say that you bring in net household income, somebody listening, family household income, net $4,000 for easy numbers.
Okay.
$4,000 a month incoming net deposits after taxes. Okay. And let's say that family requires $3,000 to pay for everything, to pay for food, housing, electric bills, car payments, insurance, everything else. Kind of a normal scenario, right? And now there's $1,000 extra, but this family has $25,000 of debt. Again, very normal scenario. What I think now, having gone through it, where I just spent every extra dollar towards debt reduction, I put myself at risk, because by doing that at the end of every month, I still had zero. So I didn't have really that cushion that I talk about of creating a survival, a float account in the event of emergency. I just got lucky that while I was in extreme debt reduction mode, that I didn't have an emergency.
Nothing happened.
That was it. And that doesn't happen for everybody. There's kids that get sick, let alone.
So were you working? Were you professionally working, or was
I had started a job in insurance. I'm commission only, just starting out, barely paying the bills, to be completely honest. Early on, you can think about if you're in insurance sales and you're literally cold calling.
Right.
My first 3 months of income might have been nothing. I mean,
nothing.
First couple of months, and then 6 months into it, I might have been making $2,500 to $3,000 a month. 2 years later, I was doing well. I'd gotten up over 60. So
was the reason that you did well tied to money?
Fear. Yeah. I mean, not everyone's wired the way I am. I'm a commission guy, right? So I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm not afraid of making nothing. I'm more driven at the time though, I was afraid of going backwards in debt. So the motivation early on was it was such a scary thought to have made progress. Yes. That's a better word.
You've said that before.
Yeah.
It was a stranglehold.
Yeah. And it is for a whole lot of people. And I get that. And that was enough for me to get up and do extra things. Now let's take a side step. Advice I would give to my kid in the same situation. So let's go back to those two things. The first is I would take, so that example I didn't finish up, 4,000 income, 3,000 living expenses, $1,000 left over, but $25,000 in debt. Okay. I would take $500 a month towards debt reduction. That would be my advice. And $500 a month towards savings.
Got it. So you'd split it.
I would start setting that up early on. I would start not everything to debt again, so I can create that cushion, but I've got to address the issue because I'm sucking on the oxygen at the same time, right?
Yes.
The second thing that a lot of people do these days, but not everyone's willing to do it because God forbid we have to work in America, side hustles, right? I'll just tell you a true story. I've got a older gentleman at my company. I won't say his name. Older gentleman at my company. He's a senior underwriter position. Guy makes a lot of money. He's a six-figure earner. Yeah. And some of the other loan officers from our company were flying in for a president retreat, and one of them got picked up by the Uber driver. The Uber driver happened to be our head underwriter who makes six figures. So I was super confused by this, and I had to ask. I was like, "Hey, dude, you're an Uber driver on the side." And it's like, well, yeah, I can go home and watch TV, or I can make a couple extra bucks every month. Why wouldn't I? Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that's a working generation mindset. It's I'm not going to just sit around and drink beer in the backyard every day. So I'm not saying go work for Uber, but what I'm saying is that a lot of young people these days are finding ways to make a little bit extra cash because even if it's only $200 a month,
it makes a huge difference.
It's a huge difference over time, which goes back to the strategy and the mindset of, I just want to get a little bit better in both areas. The two areas are debt reduction and savings, or earnings versus expenses, right? Just a little bit better.
Absolutely. Or the idea of offsetting your personal family budget if you have one, right? So a side hustle is a great way to never have to dip in to the personal family budget for the things that you don't need, right? It's the things that are fun and that you want. It's just a way to sidestep it,
It's really funny that you said that. It makes me think of a couple of people. There's another girl on our team that I won't say her name, but she's awesome. And she's not married. She has no kids. Her expenses are extremely low. She's got money in the bank. And she has to eat every day. Imagine that, right? She has to eat like we all do. Yeah. So what she figured out is, heck, she'll tell a few friends because she's a good cook and she enjoys it. So going back to doing some stuff that you enjoy doing anyways, what she does is she meal preps for the entire week, makes meals for several people that work at our company and some of our referring partners. And the money that she earns from that pays for all of her food for every week.
That's literally an offset of an entire
And she's
line
gonna
item.
cook anyways. And what I asked her, I was like, is this taking a lot of time? Like, is this a good use of your time? Are you sure you want to do this? And she said, listen, when you buy strawberries, you don't buy the 4 for your salad. You buy 40 for your, in the box.
Absolutely.
And so why wouldn't I make 10 meals with that 1 box of strawberries? And, when you get salads and you buy it in a bag, salads are for 4 people usually.
Yep.
So, and I need to eat for 1 person. And so I've got 3 other salads I can sell to other people, which will more than pay for the salad, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever she's dealing with, soups and salads, I think is what her specialty is, just if you're curious. Soups are good.
Girl, like that girl and her soups. Yep. I told her, I'm like, just only do soups. That's it, literally.
But yeah, so now we're working, right? So, I'm starting to increase my income. I've got my first real professional job. Yeah. I've got limited benefits, but I do have benefits. So I've got a little bit more of a safety net now, meaning I'm age 22, 23. I'm at Bankers Life and Casualty, which is an insurance company. One of the cool perks about some companies is you get to go on trips occasionally. If you had sales, at least for sales, like you go on sales trips. So I didn't pay for my vacations, which was a big thing.
Nice, yeah.
One thing I used to do brings me back. It's an interesting point. I had earmarked whatever I kind of compute what it would have cost me to go on that vacation that the company was paying for. I literally write a check to savings for what I would have spent anyways. So
that's like extreme discipline.
It was weird.
It's
but
amazing.
It worked, it's amazing, right?
My brother and I talked about that yesterday.
Really?
Yes.
Which aspect?
That exactly. Like, if you get more money or you get a gift of some kind, like don't just not pay that money and spend it. Mm-hmm. Put it away in a savings account. Like
do something with it.
Do something with it.
To build your net worth.
To build it. Yeah. So not ignoring really obvious gifts. Yes, it's a gift, but how do you leverage that?
Yep.
And
there's a great book that I think that I read this book right about this time. It might date me a little bit, but one of the earliest investing type books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Robert Kiyosaki book, and he's got a whole series. I'm not getting paid by him to say this. That one affected my life in a lot of ways.
I've heard it's really good.
The whole idea, one of the basic premise of the book, I'm going to give you the short things I remember from 15, 20 years ago. But one of the things that stood out in my mind is whenever you want to buy a liability, so think about you want to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And this is flipping forward a little bit, but you want to buy a liability of any kind, buy an asset which dividends would pay for that liability, right? So what I mean by that is if you are going to have a car payment of $300 a month, don't go buy the car. Go buy an investment property that the cash flow is $300 a month.
Okay.
So the cash flow of that investment property pays for the car, right? But it's kind of an interesting concept. I remember that from years and years. It's years and years and years ago. And I didn't have the money for down payments. I couldn't qualify for a mortgage at the time anyways. That's not the point. But I started feeding my mind and mindset with strategies that I want to employ at some point, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big piece of it. Is that's about the time Susie Orman had all sorts of books coming out back in those years, and I would dissect them and read them. And as boring as they were, it's just back to I don't know what I don't know, and so I was seeking out the information that I could find to improve a little bit in all these different areas.
Was the goal to become uber wealthy?
No. And I'll tell you why, because I defined wealth as making $1 more than my dad, but I never asked my dad what he made.
Oh, so it was just
So I kind of thought that my dad might have made 6 figures because he was a doctor.
Yeah.
So I thought he made $100,000 because you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know what doctors made.
To be clear, his dad operates on fetuses.
We'll stop there. Yes.
He's 1 in 3.
There's a few more than that, but he does high risk.
$100,000.
Yeah, I thought I made 100,000 at the time. But the point of it is that that was my definition of success. Most of us think that the definition of success is making a little more than your parents because you don't know what that is to be bigger than that or more than that, right? So no, I think my primary motivator was I did not like how I felt being in debt. So that's the primary until I was out of debt. So now I'm out of debt. I still have the disciplines now I created by paying down debt quickly. I think it took me 2 years. Yeah. 2 years to pay off all my debt. I think it was right at 2 years.
Fast.
It was very fast, but I've talked about in different episodes, I ate tuna fish from a can for 3 years. I was pretty extreme. Don't do that. It's not healthy for you. You lose a lot of weight, but don't do that. But you just pour and pour and pour and pour, and it was a discipline. So after that happens, whatever the discipline was, however stringent you were, whatever your circumstance allow, once you are out of debt, the urge that you fight to go buy something now is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you have to fight that. And I will tell this over and over and over again. The reason why I got wealthy is what I didn't buy for the next 10 years.
What you did not buy.
What I did not buy for the next 10 years is why I'm wealthy.
Yeah.
And it's because I just kept on looking at it as, well, I've got all this extra money. Well, at the same time, my earnings kept on increasing.
Right.
As I got promoted, changed jobs, whatever, took some risks. And I'll go into that in a different episode about some real estate investments and things like that I took some risks on. We'll also do in a different episode upcoming soon, how much money I've lost with bad choices.
I literally can't wait to hear.
Which people only hear about the good stuff.
Right?
You pay off every debt and you save lots of money. Let me tell you, I've also lost about $750,000 in early on when I shouldn't have on bad choices too. So I'll explain that as well. But now I've got this cushion of money that's over and above. So go back to that same $4,000 net, $3,000 spending, $1,000 left over. Well, in that equation, there's $1,000 left over a month to save.
Right.
As long as you don't go buy more crap. As long as you don't charge up your credit card. There's $1,000 more a month every single month. So I think it was 30 or 60 days after I got out of debt, I bought the diamond ring for my wifey.
There you go.
Right? And 15 years later, here we still are, right? So she didn't have to wait 10 years to get married. And it worked out. I'm really happy. And
She's a hottie though. She wouldn't have been around for long. I mean, you had to.
That's the truth.
There was motivation
That's the truth.
to
She had
get
options.
it done.
She had to lock that down. There's a song where put a ring on it. Lock that down.
Lock that down. Smart choice.
But so now where do you save? How do you do that? I can't tell you how many clients I look at that do it all on their own. Like they don't seek advice. They buy stocks. They play day trader. They buy gold. They sell. I had a friend from college who bought and sold baseball cards for 10 years after college. That and Super Bowl tickets.
All right.
Or not, right?
You don't advise that.
I don't advise that unless you're really, 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 really good at it, which takes all your time, energy, and effort. He turned out as a good dude, and he's fine. I actually ran across him about a year ago, but my point in saying this is that that strategy and discipline of, okay, now I need to get ahead usually requires expert advice, right?
Okay.
So now we've got some money.
So like at what point? What dollar amount do you need?
I love that question.
Because I feel like there's intimidation that comes with going to a financial planner, and it's like, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want them to think, whatever. So at what point do you fill up that first funnel?
Yep. I love it.
Pour it into another one.
I love it. Today is the best answer.
Okay.
Today. Like, even if you're not ready to start, it's better to know what steps need to happen before you can start than to guess and be 3 years late to the game. Right. So a good example is in mortgages. People, for whatever reason, wait quite often. They will call me after there's a house under contract that they're supposed to close on in 30 days. Dink, dink, right. Dink, dink. And a lot of them qualify and they knew it. And a whole lot
praise Jesus
didn't, or they had something randomly happen on their credit 3 months ago that they could have fixed 3 months ago, which would have got them a better interest rate today, but we don't have any time to fix it, right? So I would have rather them called me 6 months ago, even if they weren't going to buy, their lease wasn't going to be up for 6 months. I'd rather them call me 6 months ago so I can take a look at the credit, say, hey, you're kosher, you're good to go, or hey, dude, we can improve your credit scores by 20 points in the next 3 months, which will be the difference of a better rate or better closing costs. It's the same thing with debt reduction. It's the same thing with dealing with a CPA. It's the same thing, in my opinion, with dealing with a financial planner. Like, go get expert advice. Most all financial professionals will give you a first meeting for free.
Right.
If they're a normal human, they will help you with at least one free meeting. right?
Yes.
So start there and think, well, crap, I can get a free education. Start there. So you might talk to 2 or 3 if that's important to you, to find the right fit, find out who's got a book of business that can help you and can cater to you based on whatever. But, starting with saving $50 a month with a financial planner, there are plenty of financial planners that will literally start with a $50 or $100 savings plan that goes to an IRA as a starting point.
And I think as far as the judgment goes, there just is none. Like to see somebody save $50 a month, that is a huge deal. When we hear
because
about,
it's the top 10% of the nation.
Yes.
Top 10. If you just start saving something every month, it's top 10%.
Yes. It just makes it, I equate it to when people, call and ask for advice about marketing and they send me something that they just created their first mailer. They just created their first social media campaign. It literally makes me the most happy,
I love
that. However small it is, it's just such a big deal.
I love that. I'm going to write a book at some point that's going to be titled "What I Wish My Parents Had Told Me," because I want to give it to my kids, or at least talk through this. Another thing about what I would do differently if I was my own kids in the same situation, and this applies to people that are pretty sure they're going to be in the same city with a relatively stable job already, right? So think teacher. Think somebody that got hired on, they're probably unless they commit a felony, they're probably gonna keep that job for a long time. I would for sure recommend buying a property earlier, right? And the last 10 years, the average age of first-time home buyers gone to over 30.
Yeah.
Right? So in the last 10 years, it's been later and later and later in life because people are staying at home longer, living with parents longer, which isn't a bad idea, because it's less expenses. It's a thought process. Well, what I would tell my kids is, you be that for your friends. You be dad for your friends. So you go buy the house and you rent out 3 rooms. Yes. Let your friends pay for your house, which is an asset building, wealth building tool. Would your friends choose to live with their parents or with you, for $500 a month? It's cheaper than all day long, right?
That's great advice. I love that.
Well, and I'm even trying to apply it towards college. Like, if my kids turn out somewhat normal, and if they choose to go to college, meaning I can trust them. Not like I hope they're a good time, but if they're party animals, I don't want this to be the case, right? But if they're somewhat normal, and if they choose to go to college, I would want to help them buy a house, because dorm costs are expensive. And if they can learn to manage a property, have some friends that are decent friends, live with them, have rules around the house.
You do remember your college days, right?
I have 3 kids, so I figure one of them will get it right.
You got a ringer in there somewhere.
One's going to really impress me. One's going to really disappoint me. I'm sure of it. I've got 2 girls. I've got a lot of worrying to do.
So fun to think about.
My boy will probably give me more gray hairs. I know. I get it. But so that's something that, my point is like,
so invest in real estate quicker.
Invest in real estate quicker because it's for savings and it's an appreciating asset. Again, assuming that you've got a stable job, you're not going to be job hopping anytime soon, and also that you like the city that you're in. Because I also understand a lot of people in their early 20s want to travel the world. Not everyone can qualify at that age either. You got to remember, you got to build credit. In fact, my first mortgage, I shouldn't even say that. The first house that I own, that I still own as a rental property, my lender denied me.
Boom.
A couple days beforehand.
Denied.
My now wife, at the time girlfriend,
who
is
had
the one
a beautifully stable job
as a teacher. Bought the house, and then said boyfriend had to rent from the girlfriend.
Cool guy salesman selling insurance.
Yeah, I was.
That's funny.
It was embarrassing, but it's something my wife can hold over my head forever. So God bless you, Christy. I love you to death. But yeah, it's one of those things that I would say at that time we started to do. We also didn't buy an extreme. We bought a little first-time home buyer, little tiny house in Schertz, Texas. If you look on the map, it's on the outskirts of San Antonio. Yeah. I know my first payment was $664.
That is good.
So, and 10% down, $664 payment was on a tiny little house in the middle of nowhere at the time, in the middle of nowhere, right? Yeah.
So now somebody comes to you as a mortgage loan officer and says, we want to buy an investment property. would you look at their financial situation and advise them to do it or to not do it?
I think it totally depends on the situation.
Okay.
I think, again, income, goals,
but that's a conversation you would have with them.
Oh, 100%. Okay. And it's something you should talk about with some professional. If it's not me, somebody. Some other ideas around this. Another thing that one of our employees did that I thought was super smart was, again, young guy out of UTSA, what got engaged. What they did is they went and bought a duplex.
Okay.
So they moved into one side of the duplex and rented out the other side of the duplex. They didn't care who their neighbor was. They just wanted to be smart with their money and live for free. So at least 10, 11 months of the year, except for the rotation or every once in a while, you got to fix the house. I get that. The other household was paying enough to cover like 90% of their mortgage.
Wow.
They're living on nothing and all going towards savings and wedding at the time.
So I'm hearing like a ton of leverage opportunities.
Yeah, it's just, those are some things that I'd want my kids to do early on as an example. So going back to what was happening with me, I got super addicted to savings. And every time I got a raise or earned more money, what didn't change was my lifestyle.
I love that.
What didn't change was my lifestyle. I didn't get the next phone. I didn't get a nicer car. I drove that damn Ford Exploder till it was 250,000 miles, almost 240,000 miles, if I remember correctly.
And that's what happens. And this is exactly what happens. You make more money, and money buys you opportunity. It buys you convenience. So you take the maid from once a month to once a week.
Yep.
You take the yard guy from once a month to once a week. You up the subscriptions. All of those things.
Shop more often. You buy clothes more often. You buy nicer clothes. You buy a nicer car.
The problem is that, like, if that money ever changes, you are so screwed. You're screwed. And so
people adjust up their lifestyle quickly.
Never adjust down.
They adjust down slowly until it's mandatory.
Yes.
And then they change because they were bankrupt.
Like, I am in the middle of feeling this. So I just told Randy, I'm like, the maid coming in once every 2 weeks is just not enough. We have got to go to every 9 days. I am in the middle of that physical feeling of, here we go.
You earn it. You deserve it. I should do it.
Absolutely. And I can justify anything. And I'm in the middle of debating, like, am I just justifying it, or is it really a good swap of time? Right. So, but being incredibly aware of those situations and those decisions that you're making is a good first step.
Yep.
You should not go into them and never feel it.
Yep.
You should
I'll tell you something that occurred to me now, which is, this might be a good idea. Actually, it is going to be a good idea. The more I think about this, like, I need to tell my kids this immediately. I interviewed a few billionaires last year, like with a B billionaires. So just curious, like, okay, you guys are way, way, way wealthier than me. There was several commonalities, but there was one commonality that stuck out to me that I've since started to implement. Most of these billionaires had a no guy, as in N-O, no. So you think about, what do billionaires, like, why do they have to be told no ever? Like, they in theory can afford whatever. So down to investments too, right? Like, some of these guys have guys whose only job is to talk them out of an investment opportunity.
I love it.
It's a no guy. So literally, I sat down with my buddy Will last month for lunch. And I said, you're smart. You're a business person. Yeah. You get it. You know what my goals are. From now on, any investment of greater than, I gave a specific number, any investment of greater than this number, I want you to review it. And if you say no, I will not do it. So
they don't have to say no.
They don't have to say no. But their job is to have
a very critical eye.
There's a, I think it's called the 12th. I think it's called the 12th man.
It's the voice of reason.
Right. There's some useless knowledge here, but I believe it's the Mossad, and I think it's 12 men, not like Texas A&M 12th man, but the 12th man. Let me tell you this. It's super interesting. So in history, Israel got destroyed almost by a couple neighbors too often, right? So you go back to the 40s, Israel becomes its own country. They're surrounded by enemies forever, right? Like sworn enemies forever, effectively. But they're doing well. They create allies with different countries, including the United States. There's good diplomacy happening in the 50s and 60s, and yet again and again and again they get caught by surprise. And are literally almost overrun by not one, but multiple borders of countries, right? So what the Mossad did, I believe is what it is they create something called the 12th man. If this is not exactly right, it's damn close. So feel free to correct me and text me and let me know. But what they did is they basically had the top 11 smartest guys that are the top secret service. Mossad's the secret service, basically, right? For Israel. They created a 12th position. Only job is anytime these 11 guys agree,
they have to.
The 12th guy has to like investigate and go behind the scenes and find out what am I not seeing?
Yeah.
Because somehow we almost got destroyed with the multiple wars.
Yes.
Because everyone agreed that we were just fine and dandy and safe.
Yeah.
And that's that concept of what's the no guy in your life, right? Yeah. No girl in your life. So
and you do need someone that like doesn't agree with that agrees with everything you say.
Dude, I've got a coaching student right now that we had this conversation. He has to text me anytime he's going to spend more than $300 for permission.
Dang.
Now he takes us very seriously. He broke a tooth. He's got to get a replacement. It's going to be like $2,300. Is my answer yes or no?
Please tell him no.
Of course I said yes. No, I didn't want to panic him.
That is hilarious.
You're so mean. You're so mean. But
that is unmarketable.
But the point is, right? What's really super interesting about that is he allowed himself to be told no.
Yes.
And he followed through with,
because this person is probably a very large earner.
Yeah, he's a 6-figure earner for sure.
Okay. Like,
and he's asking permission, can I get my tooth fixed? Right? But that's what we have to change.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to look for is, okay, just because I can doesn't mean I should. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some good advice for that period of time. Because should I buy a bigger house? Should I go ahead and get a lease, or should I buy a car, or should I just stay in my car? Should I fix this engine, or should I screw the car and go buy a brand new one?
Brand new one, baby. Get it.
Should I?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that dialogue, then what we're always going to do is what's most convenient, what we like, or what's easiest.
And what feels good.
What feels good, right? What we like.
Yeah.
What feels good.
Okay.
So now.
Okay. So I am hearing deferred gratification is
sure.
pretty much at the root of every single conversation we have.
Yep.
It's deferred gratification.
Yep.
Hold your horses. Wait. You don't need it today. You've got what works. All of those things.
Yep.
Second thing is leverage in ways that you may not. Creative leverage. I mean, the examples you gave were awesome with the side hustles, with the duplex, with buying a house.
Refinance your car that's not been looked at.
So leverage. The third one is use coaches and mentors and
absolutely
finding a no
Seek
person.
Professional help sooner.
Yes. Get help. Get help.
Yep.
Get that help. What am I missing?
Strategy.
And finding a strategy.
Yeah, like the strategy of, I don't care what it is. I care that you have one, right? The strategy of, my advice would be 50% towards debt reduction, 50% towards savings. It makes you not have to think about it. It's just 50% of what you have left over. The strategy of cut up your credit cards. Don't leave them open and active if you've not been able to manage them forever. The strategy of I'm going to start stocking away $100 a month to my IRA.
Yeah.
Pick a strategy. And then the last piece that I would also put on your short list, which I love your list, would be just get better. A little bit better every month is better. Better is better. It's never too late to be better.
It is. Yeah.
And that the alternative is you've got an oxygen tank that we can keep looking away and pretend like it's going to have oxygen forever. It is diminishing. It's diminishing quickly, and failure to handle it ends badly no matter which way we look at it.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is do it long enough to get that response, get the endorphins released, to see how good it feels and what it can do, because that's going to be the motivator to keep going.
Yep.
And it's really hard. It's just like working out. It's just like eating right. All the crap we have to do, but it yields us a better life. It actually yields us more freedom. And so just do it long enough.
I love that you said that. There's 1,000,001 books about habits. I'm not going to quote the right book, but I'll tell you there's a Chinese proverb I remember that sticks in my mind. And it talks about there's an old man and a young man that walk out into a field. And the old man looks at the young man and says, hey, pull that flower out of the ground. And he pulls the flower out of the ground, and they keep walking a little further, and he's like, hey, go ahead and pull that bush out of the ground. And the kid struggles for a little bit, but then he's able to pull the bush out of the ground. And then he keeps on walking, and there's oak tree, big old oak tree. And the old man's like, hey, pull the oak tree out of the ground.
It's hard as shit to get out.
Not going to do it.
Yeah.
And what the analogy is to habits. The longer the habit's in place, the more and bigger and deeper the roots are, the longer you're going to have to work on it, the more energy and effort you're going to have to put into it to get rid of it. And so what you said there at the end, as far as just stick with it.
Just stick with it.
If there's a point, I promise you, with everybody, it does get better.
It does get better.
It's just, you got to see it through. You will make mistakes.
Yes. Yeah.
Rinse, wash, repeat. Be better tomorrow. You'll make another mistake. Rinse, wash, repeat. Do it tomorrow. Any final thoughts?
No, I think I love it. I think it was good. I think we gave some good tactical information.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned, because we're going to go into a lot more depth in some of these areas. I've been finally talked into sharing all my worst moments and my worst investments as well. So I can't
wait.
It's coming to an episode near you. I will share some of those bad choices I make. So hopefully you don't step on the same landmine. Awesome. And then I'll talk about a few of the good ones I made early on, because I do think some of those early on ones were the ones that really got me some critical mass that really paid off in the long run. Oh my
gosh. I think that's hugely important. I think people are going to be excited to hear those. So if you like what we're saying, make sure you like it, subscribe it, tell your friends. Yep. Let's be rich together. And that's Sigman Sense.
Sigman Sense. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.
I'm Josh Sigman, and I'm a mortgage lender. I'm also a geek for money, not just earning it and saving it, but literally everything about it. I love that money has rules. It has its truths. I love investment strategies, and I love making money work for us. For so many, money is emotional. For me, it's logical, like a puzzle. My passion is also helping others with their money. I love looking at people's finances, dissecting their puzzle, and rebuilding with strategy and purpose, and I'm really good at it. I'm making this podcast about my money strategies, not the things that are written in books or sold in programs. It's a podcast outlining the lessons I've learned and used for the past 15 years. These strategies help me and those who use them save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early. Let me teach you how to build your net worth. You ready? Welcome to Sigman Sense.